let's take a look at some of the best ways to measure and identify body fat levels at home with limited funds. So here we have some digital body fat calipers. They can be bought online for around 10 British pounds or about $14-15. So what you do here is you just press the on button, squeeze them together, then press 0. So that calibrates it to say 0 when the two pincers are closest together. So here I'm just measuring my abdominal body fat. I'm pinching an inch basically. In my case it's about, 10 or 11 millimeters. It's about 1.1 centimeters. Anyway, so I've measured it there. All you do is pull the skin apart, but try to get the thickest part of the skin. I find if you do it that way, you're less likely to make error. Now if you pick two thinner parts of the skin, then you've got a false reading, I'd say. So I'd always pick the thickest part, ideally, and always do the same body part and the same side of the body. Just for consistency, really. Now here we've got the, I believe it's the suprailiac crest, I don't know. It's the iliac fat capsule area, you might say. So that's usually quite a low body fat level for me. Now here we've got the chest, so just the chest skin fold. I think mine's quite high. I hold a lot of fat around my chest, which is unique, but anyway, this is the thigh. So here we've got the thigh. What I'll make clear here is you want to do this ideally around halfway down your leg and pinch it horizontally, not vertically. I found that's easier to measure things like that. It's a reliable way of doing it. Just make sure however you do measure it is the same and consistent each time. Now here we've got the tricep measurements. This one's a tricky one to do. As you can see here, I really struggled to do this one. So what I actually do with tricep measurement is go somewhere in the middle of the arm and just try to go as far back as I can and get the fattest part of my tricep. What I've noticed is you can't really press the hold button to secure the number that is written on the screen. So what I actually do is I'll pull it back and actually look at it, and it'll say for a split second, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 millimeters, what have you. And I just remember that in my head, then record it down in a notepad sort of thing. And this is what I use. So I use a website called Linear Software. If you just type in Linear Software body fat calculator, it'll give you these guidelines, these, I don't know, input form thing. And it will say kilograms or pounds, whatever metric you want to use, centimeters, inches, what have you. Put in your age, gender, and your weight. Then you insert the numbers. Now I've noticed that the Perillo caliper method, which is the one here, with like, I don't know, 8, 9 things on it. That's quite tricky to do because some of the body fat parts are on your back. Some of the body fat is on your back. So for example, I believe it's a supra something on the lower back. I'm not going to be able to do this very easily. They're going to be hard to measure because they're behind me. You'd have to get someone else to do them. But I think for most people, doing either the Jackson Pollock 3 or 4 method is perfectly viable. Just as long as you're consistent with whichever measurement you use. Now, between those two measurements that you see me having written on the screen, I find that the more numbers that I input, the lower my body fat is, which is interesting. Now, when I use less body parts, I tend to have a higher reading, but that's due to the disposition or distribution of my body fat on my body. My thighs are relatively lean nowadays, same with my calves, whereas my abdomen and chest is much fattier, I found. So for me, that can sway the reading depending on what part of your body, whether it be front, back, or lower part of your body, the reading is taken from. Just pick a consistent way to measure it. Ideally use the maximum amount of numbers if you can get someone to measure for you, but just make sure it's the same person measuring it because everyone has a pretty weird way of doing it, I find sometimes. So anyway, we'll continue. So yeah, as you can see here I've got some Renpho body fat scales. So they're bioimpedance electrical scales. You can buy them on Amazon and places online for about, I want to say about 25 British pounds, maybe 30, 35 US dollars. And they're an affordable way to do it. And while saying that, they're pretty good, as in the weight, the measurement of the weight is reliable. Your dietary intake and water consumption up to that point of measuring will always inevitably change it slightly. So just be conscious of trying to do it at the same time of day under the same fed or fasted state, ideally fasted, after you get up in the morning, go for a wee. And yeah, they provide a reliable trend. So doing it, say, once a week, if you're measuring it, could be quite a useful tool to use. I might suggest people to do it maybe every few months and just keep record of it. The app, which is the Renfo Body Fat Scale app, has a way to trend things and map things out for you so you don't have to really coordinate anything. It just requires Bluetooth. So it's quite a simple piece of software to use on your phone. I think it also has connectivity to your laptop as well, perhaps. Now, you've just got here things like your weight, which is very helpful. BMI, not too helpful at all. Body fat, now this is where it's interesting. It says here I'm 17.9% body fat. As you saw on the screen just now, I'm not 17.9% body fat. I'm probably close to between 10 and 12%. Now, the body fat readings on the earlier measurements of the linear software measurement are somewhere between about 7 and 9%. So what I usually do is just pick the middle point between these, and that's what I tell people. So between 7 and 17 is about, I don't know, 12, 13%, something like that, I don't know. But, you know, the point is, you've got two different ways to measure. They're reliable. They're just easy things to do. The scales might be done more frequently because you just have to stand on them, but the body fat calipers that you use will have to be perhaps less consistent just because it's harder to do. It involves more time and thought process, really. But yeah, there's two different ways you can use it. Now, some other things I'd look at here are the fat-free body weight and the visceral fat, which is interesting because my visceral fat is apparently high. What do I blame that for? I'm going to blame that on contraindicated medication I've been given. I'm going to blame that on contraindicated medication I've been given for the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years of my life. Painkillers definitely cause some false distribution of body fat in areas you don't want around the organs, so not ideal. Like I said earlier, these numbers will be artificially inflated, or at least temporarily, depending on your hydration levels, how well fed you are, how tired you are, time of day, things like this, if you've urinated or not. If you've passed a stool, that will also impact your weights and measurements. So be cautious, but they do provide a trend as long as you're consistent with how you're measuring them. Now, a third measurement you can use is you can actually go onto Google and type in something like, what does 10% body fat look like? And usually you'll see a diagram of a cartoon or just an actual person with slightly visible abs if they're male. For females, that might be something like maybe 18 to 20%. Then that's your kind of reference point to say you're lean. So 10% body fat is lean. Below that's the point where you start to see striations, ripples in the muscle detail, which is quite unusual. But yeah, there are things to look out for, but that's another third way to do it if you don't want to spend any money. So basically, here's 3 very simple ways to measure your body fat at home without spending, I don't know, a ton. And you can effectively find out what you're doing right now and if it's working. So I'd recommend looking at these numbers. Some points that I'd like to make are, if you'd like any help with this, you want additional links, you're not sure which one to buy, look below in the description. I'll add in some ones that I recommend. If you're still not sure how to do it, you want a bit of guidance, you want a bit of a demonstration, book a consultation. That's where I will answer questions on this sort of topic. It's very hard to cover these things through comment sections of videos. Every day I'm inundated with I'm given about 10 to 20 different questions every day, which I answer oftentimes for free. And these videos, they yield me about £2 and they take me about 3 to 5 hours to make. So please respect my time. Just hit like, leave a comment if it was helpful. And hopefully you guys have a better idea now of how to measure your body fat. Thanks very much. Build muscle and lose fat on the carnivore diet.